February 16th, I received a phone call from Ralph Venema, Field Director for Concern International. He shared with me a situation that needed to be addressed immediately. Through his associations, a young woman named Ruth, who was afraid for her life, had made contact with him and asked if there was any way Concern International could help. I told Ralph I would give it some thought and prayer and get back to him. After hanging up the phone and relaying the information to my wife, I asked, what could I do? The answer? 3 days later, my daughter and I picked up a very scared young lady at the airport. I had a bit of history about Ruth, so I thought I had a pretty good handle on her situation. As the days went on, and we got to know one another, she slowly began to relate to my wife and I her story. I was no way prepared for the horror of mental and physical abuse she had suffered since her earliest memory at the age of 4. She's now 20. There were many late nights and tear-filled eyes as my wife spent time with Ruth, talking to and comforting her, and doing her best to be a mom to a scared and hurting young woman who spoke very little English. Meanwhile, I could only watch and pray and try to be an example of what a man, husband, and father should be, as opposed to her real father, who inflicted only mental and physical pain upon her. I felt helpless, but understood this was all I could do, as she was obviously very afraid of and did not trust men. The thing that impressed me the most about Ruth was that through every event in her life, no matter how bad, she never lost sight of the fact that God is always with her, and that what she wanted most of all was to go back and work in the church, to give back to God for all He has done for her. Ruth loved music and loved to sing. I've heard the song "Can't Take Away" by Mike's Chair many times, but the message it shares, you can take away everything physical in life, but you can't take away God's love, took on a new meaning once I met Ruth. As I write this on May 6th, I left the airport a few hours ago after dropping Ruth off. For a number of reasons, she has decided that she needs to return home. I'm a strong guy. Over the past 3 years, I've dealt with my sister going through breast cancer and my mother fighting Hodgkin's lymphoma through chemotherapy and a subsequent stem cell transplant. I'll admit to you that during all of that, I not once had as severe an emotional breakdown as I did the day I hugged Ruth, told her I loved her. And as she walked through security and went down the terminal, knowing full well what she was headed back to, and praying that God's hand will be upon her so no harm will come to her, and that someday soon I will be able to see her again. During the past 3 months, I have been so busy dealing with all of the things that needed to be handled on her behalf that I don't think I ever realized until today how much she has truly become my daughter. Today I said goodbye to a very big part of my life. What is really important in life? People. Concern International's motto is reaching, touching, and changing lives one at a time. Over the past few months, this has taken on new meaning for me, and I hope that this story changes how you perceive this simple statement as well. We can do all the projects we want, build multiple buildings with brick and mortar, but they are only temporary and only a means to an end. While they will touch and change lives, nothing can compare to the actual developing of a relationship with a person and watching them grow in Christ, and then see them step out on their own to change their part of the world. This is especially true of our children. This can be very difficult, especially for me, as in the case with Ruth. I needed to lay down my pride and my human need to feel that I was the one who could protect her and place my trust in Christ alone. Today, I had to do that as I watched my very special daughter, Ruth, step out with her newfound strength and resolve to try to change her part of the world. Well, I'm very sad, and I will miss her very much. I could not be prouder as a father. I have a Labrador Retriever who thinks that I hung the moon. She's 10 years old and has been my constant companion her entire life. Bella's never liked to be held and will leave as soon as you try. She just wants to be near you. She always sleeps at the foot of my bed. On the first night that Ruth was with us, I woke up in the middle of the night after hearing a door open, got out of bed, and noticed that Belle was not at the foot of my bed. After looking around the house, I discovered that Belle had opened the door to the room where Ruth was sleeping and had crawled up into bed with her. Ruth had her arms around Belle's neck. They spent the entire night curled up together, having just met Ruth only hours before. Belle understood that it was more important for her to comfort someone in need than it was to stay in a safe, comfortable place that she had known for her 10 years. We should all be like Belle and be willing to step out of our comfort zone to help someone who is hurting, no matter what the cost or our dislikes, and expect nothing in return.